It's the mystery of iniquity. Said it's the history of iniquity. Said it's the misery of iniquity. Oh, when it all falls down. I'm telling you, oh, it all falls down. Hey, what's up, it's Shani, and I'm back with another episode of Shani's Lab. So, I wanted to come on here and talk about the conference that they held for reparations, which was nothing more than one big farce. First of all, I want to start off by saying they had nobody but black immigrants and celebrities who were supposed to be out here representing, for the masses or the collective of black people. Now, you got to think about this. How can you have celebrities representing for the political needs and the political base of, your average everyday person? They're not in the same tax bracket. They don't live the same lifestyles as the average person. And, to be quite frank, you never really see that happening in any other culture. Now, in any other culture, they use their celebrities to get like fundraisers going so that you can raise the money. You always need a figurehead that people trust so that, you can get fundraisers done, things like that. Like when the Latinos put together money for Obama, they used Ava Longoria and they raised over like $1 million, to give to Obama's campaign. So that's when you use your celebrities, when you need the pull, when you need, the money, when you need a face together, people around. But when it comes to, speaking on the politics of, black people, when it comes to talking about the politics of black people, you need actual politicians, um, people with economic degrees, people with business degrees, people who have worked within, the system in any area. That's what you need. Like, where was Dr. Claude Anderson? Where are people like him? I would say Dr. Frances Cress wasn't, but sadly she's passed. Rest in peace to her. But I don't really understand. Where they're really coming from with this. And to me it was really weird. And then they had, like I said, you had a bunch of black immigrants as well. So I'm just like, when do black immigrants get to speak for the reparations case for the black people who were enslaved here in America? That just doesn't make any sense. So then let's talk about this. They had this guy who said he grew up in a suburban area. This black guy who grew up in the suburban area. He said that um, he went to an Ivy League school and that, he's well off, so he doesn't need reparations. And I'm like, that's all good and well, but just because, a few black people make it into Ivy League schools, a few black people make it, to a certain level here in America, that does not mean that the collective masses of the people, basically, the remnants of the ancestors who suffered through slavery, Jim Crow, terrorism, redlining, black codes, like they've done a lot, to halt and thwart the progress of black Americans. And I feel like, if you're going to have a conference about where we're going to talk about reparations, where are the real people? Why would you have someone up here who doesn't believe we have reparations? And I really don't even want to get into it with that, with that guy. We're really going on him because, it was just ignorance and it's stupid. It's like, okay, if you feel like that, why are you here? Why are you at a reparations conference? Shouldn't you be somewhere hanging with your Ivy League friends or somewhere running a business or somewhere on top of America's pyramid scheme, since you feel like, you don't need reparations because you live well off. And how does you living well off, what does that have to do with the collective masses of black people who do live below the poverty line? Like, what does that have to do with us? I wouldn't say me because I'm not, below the poverty line either, but, what does that mean, for everyone else? So that there is already for us, and then you have celebrities like Danny Glover and other people, and then they had Sheila Jackson, who was a first generation immigrant. So it's like, why do you have black folks who don't care about reparations, immigrants, and celebrities talking about a reparations case? Like from that point on, it's already a farce. It's already a farce. And the thing is, the media is not even talking about, or Congress, they didn't even bring up the fact that where did this jump for reparations come from? The grassroots movement brought reparations to the forefront. We crumbled the political system when we embarrassed Kamala Harris, when we embarrassed Cory Booker, when we shut down Joe Biden. And now it looks like we're going to have to shut down, Alexandria Cortez and Bernie Sanders, who feel like they're not going to support reparations. Angela Cortez says she wants to support it because she feels like Latinos should be included, which doesn't make any sense either. And Bernie Sanders is, not here for it either. And everyone wants this for all, this free healthcare and all this stuff. But when it comes to Black Americans, we should not be paying for healthcare, because there were, healthcare businesses like Aetna and other places used to insure slave ships. They used to insure slaves. So if your slave ran away, or your slave died, or your slave ship, sank or something like that, or the boat crashed, you can insure that boat as well as those slaves. So we as the remnants of those ancestors, we should not have to pay for help. Like, it's certain things in this country that Native Americans got that we should have gotten as well, based off of the work our ancestors put in, the many lives that we've lost due to this system. Like, we're just going to pretend that Black Americans weren't terrorized. We've had our own Wall Street. They burned that down. We've tried to create our own prominent communities. They burned that down. We used to occupy certain parts in major cities. Eminent domain, y'all gotta go. So, they've done a lot to thwart our progress. And when you have a Black person sitting up on television trying to give his case about why he doesn't deserve reparations, nobody brings up the history behind why reparations is needed. Nobody wants to talk about that. And I just, so I'm just going to, so Black people hold that vote. That was bullshit. They held that conference so that they can make it look like, oh, hey, look, we're doing something. We're talking about reparations, because they know that Black people are serious, and we're on this kick where we like, look, if you're not giving us, any tangibles, or, cutting the check, or, giving a form of reparations, then we don't care. We should have, yeah, we should have free college. We should have been had free healthcare and free college, first of all. Yeah, all that. But what is this for all? Like, I'm not putting my vote in, to get a bunch of tangibles for everybody else. We did that with the civil rights movement. All that did was help out a certain element of the Black community who were already well off and had money, as well as white women, Latinos, gays. Like, when you think about it, everybody gets to use, the civil rights bill, as a way to martyr for their group. When in all actuality, that bill was fought for and supposed to be made for Black Americans, people who came out of, slavery, ADOS. And then they had the conversation of talking about, it was like all slaves. And it's like, no, 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 no. We had to be more specific. We're not, getting reparations for all slaves. That's their fight. I'm not saying, fuck y'all or anything, but that's your fight. If you're in a certain part, where, they did have slaves, and they built a system and whole empire, they built, like, you had to remember, when they brought the African slaves over here to the Americas, it wasn't America yet. It was a bunch of land occupied by indigenous tribes, and the Europeans at the time were fighting them all so they can get their land. When we came here, it was nothing. It was our labor. It was our work. It was us picking the cotton, and building the homes and constructing their shit. We built the White House. I mean, come on, like, we built America. We gave it its capital. We gave it its money. We're the reason why it's the world's leading superpower. It was our labor that made America and Europe and the rest of the world rich enough to create an entire system off the backs of African labor. So when they have this conversation about, reparations for all slaves, no. If you weren't here, if you can't, like, I have a family history book, right? And they try to act like, they don't have records, or they wouldn't be able to tell who to give reparations out to. It's called slave records. It's called family history. Like, I have a family history book, and we have slave records. We have, we have those records so that we know who our ancestors were, and we could point back and say, this is who he is, this is the plantation he came off of, and these are the bastards that own them, So we're not going to play the game where we try to pretend like we don't know how, or, how reparations is supposed to go down. And like, that whole thing was a farce. It was a fucking farce. Like, that's fucking embarrassing. It's sickening for them to go out and put a bunch of plugs, which we realize that by now. Like, anytime you have a Black person who's well off talking about, they don't need reparations, check that person's background. Their parents might not even be from here. Their grandparents might not even be from here. They might be biracial. So, you have to look deep into these people's backgrounds, because, if you're not even full Black, you're not about to sit up here and tell us why. And like I said, even if you are a well-off Black person, if your family came out of American slavery, you are due an old reparations, not just for slavery, but for Jim Crow, Black codes, all the lynchings they've done, the terrorism, the Ku Klux Klan killed a lot of people. They ran us out of, like, remember Reconstruction? They had the Ku Klux Klan run us out of Congress and run us out of the South. Like, we've been thwarted so many times, and that just doesn't stop. It went on during slavery. It went, like, through every generation, there has been a hook and a grab on Black people. And then you have nothing but a bunch of, now in, present day area, we're nothing but cash cows. You can use us for our talents. They use us for our money. You have a bunch of minority groups, people of color coming into communities, owning stores. They don't do anything for the community. They don't fix streets. They don't, they don't do nothing. They just make money. And what's interesting? When you were in the inner city schools, right, and you realize you have like a lot of Chinese and Puerto Ricans or whatever in your neighborhood, the people who own the Chinese stores and the poppy stores, their children don't go to our schools. Like, you might see maybe one or two or a couple of them, but for the most part, they don't even go to our schools. They just live. They don't even live in our communities. Half the time, they just own businesses within our community because they know we're going to keep going in and out, 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 in and out. And that's majority of our fault. Like, we don't have to support every damn business that opens up in our community. And when you go around, you realize that you see less and less black business owner, and that's because if you're a black business owner, it's less likely that you'll get the support that you need to even stay afloat. But we don't mind just giving all our cash out, to all other groups and, minority groups and people of color, So again, that whole reparations conference was nothing more than a big farce. You can't have immigrants, celebrities, and uneducated black people who, and I'm like, how, if you went to an Ivy League school, you probably never studied black history, African history, black American history. Like, you probably never even studied that. You probably don't even know the half of what our people go through. He sounds like a W.E.B. Du Bois in his early days. It didn't take W.E.B. Du Bois until he saw, the hands of a black person cut off and put on display into the store, to where he realized, like, I may have lived a privileged life, but these people not playing games. Like, oh shit, they've mutilated us, they've murdered us, they've terrorized us, they've blown up our homes, they've taken us from our homes. Like, we have lost a lot as black Americans, and each generation has been trying hard and hard and hard to get that back. But when you have to fight for something as simple as your civil rights, you got to think about that. Your ancestors built this country, gave the country its wealth, worked for no pay, had their children sold off, their children beaten, like all types of mutilation. And then you get to a point where you still have to fight for the basic right of just being a human being. Does that make sense to anybody? But we don't deserve reparations, right? All that is water under the bridge, right? You're supposed to just forgive all that. Jewish people wasn't trying to hear that shit. So why should we have to hear that shit? They always come to black people with the, let's be spiritual about it, and let's pray about it. Let's use Jesus, and all of this nonsense. It's like, no. We are on political game right now, and the ball is on. You're not going to trick us with some phony ass reparations conference that had nothing to do with reparations. And besides, what is there left to talk about? Why do we even need to have a conference to talk about something that y'all know what y'all have to do? Cut the damn check. All of that wealth that y'all built off of our African, off our ancestors. Give it back. Give it back, because it's owed to us. And for that stupid guy talking up here, talking about the people who, were enslaved and went through the Jim Crow era and stuff aren't here. There were people who were slaves, who lived up until the 1960s. So, what do you like? And even still, if you have generations or you still have your bloodline still here, you should still be paid that debt, and it should still be given to you. Like, for example, the Jewish people who went through the Holocaust, they're not here anymore, but their ancestors, but their offsprings, they're still getting reparations, right? So again, that doesn't make any sense. Anytime it comes to, to me, it's fucking sick. This country is fucking sick. Congress is sick. The political scene is fucking sick. And this is why we're tired of it. I think both Democrats and Republicans have realized that black people, like 2019, going into, the next election, 2020, we're fucking over it. Nobody's giving us anything. Nobody's offering anything to us. Y'all want to come to us when we supposed to be talking about politics and tangibles. Y'all want to hee-hee-ha-ha hip-hop and hee-hee-ha-ha black culture. Like, hee-hee-ha-ha, no, bitch. Yeah, we love our culture, and our culture is fire. That's why everybody's out here copying it. But that has nothing to do with our politics. Our politics is something that we should be taking very, very seriously. Like, black people back in the day used to be on that game. And, and then they try to act like, black people are always looking for handouts. That's not true. Look at your history. We have tried to build and build and create and build and create, and each time it's been destroyed, and not even through our own accord. So, like, the whole reparations thing was bullshit. Don't come to us with no immigrant talking heads and no, upper echelon talking heads who probably don't give a shit about black causes or black history in the first place, who probably think they're white because they live a certain life. And again, even if you're a well-loved black person, if you can trace your ancestry back to a slave plantation, you are owed reparations because they never paid a debt to those people. And then even after that, even after, those people, were dying out or getting old, their children and their children's children still had to go through a system of racism, white supremacy, and terrorism. So yes, we are owed reparations. We are owed reparations. And again, they can say it's going to be in the form of free healthcare and free college and all that, blah, blah, blah. But to be honest, we should have already been getting that. We should have already been getting that. They stole Native American land and they stole, African slaves, stolen African slaves. They stole, free labor from them. So, why are we even paying for simple things like healthcare and, college? Like, that should be free to us. It's very sickening and it's very sad to see, to just see the world and how they really look and view us as black people. Nobody wants to take into account the history. Nobody takes into account what has been done to us. They just want to make it seem like, we're out looking for a handout. Wasn't slavery a handout for white supremacy and everybody the fuck else? Wasn't the civil rights movement a handout for all other groups and everybody the fuck else? Like, everybody gets fucking handouts. The only people who don't get the handouts is us. We do get our skulls bashed in. We get dog sicked on us. We got hosed, lynched, mutilated, enslaved, stolen land that we built and occupied. Like, come the fuck on. Come on, man. But anyway, if y'all didn't get a chance to see that fucking bullshit ass reparations concert, make sure you watch it. Go watch the black immigrants who have nothing to do with American slavery. Some upper echelon black talking head who they probably paid to say some dumb shit. And I'm glad people booed the shit out of him because, like, nigga, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? You say I'm stupid. I went to an Ivy League school. So what? Like, reparations are owed to the black American descendants of slavery, ADOS. We deserve every single penny, We built this nation, our ancestors built this nation. Like I said, we gave it its wealth. And we are the reason why it's the way, the reason why, it has the money that it does. If it was not for us, there would be no America. It would still be indigenous, tribes occupying the land. So let's not forget that. Let's not pretend that we aren't the founder. Like, when we say we're foundational black Americans, that's what we mean. When we came here, there was no America. We built it. We built it. And we probably the ones who named it too. So again, we want our reparations. We're not, that conference was fucking stupid. There doesn't need to be a conference. There doesn't need to be conversation. Y'all know what reparations are and y'all know what they come in forms of. So let's not play these games like they're playing games with us. And that's cool because when it comes down to the 2020 election, they're going to see just how powerful we are. We have a powerful, powerful, powerful local vote. Now, when it comes to, the president or whatever, our vote is kind of fickle because, one, a lot of people don't go out and vote. Two, they took a lot of the votes away from cons, and a lot of people, do have criminal backgrounds for the most minuscule shit. And as well as, the electoral college is, at the end of the day, they can choose whomever the fuck they want. It doesn't even matter who people voted for. The electoral college say we want this person. That's who's going to be the next president of the United States. But the local power, when it comes to, our local politicians, people who become mayors and all that stuff, like, we have power. And we're using it, we're flexing it, and we're not playing games no more.